welcome to another episode of the Phoenix Film Revival Podcast. I am your host, Daniel Iannacone, and today I have with me Stacy Iannacone.
Hi.
And Dave Tabor?
Tabor, yeah.
Tabor.
Yeah, it's like labor with a T.
There we go. There we go.
And Dave is a friend of the lab. He's taken a workshop with us, and a couple workshops, I think. And he became a member and started using the darkroom pretty frequently, religiously.
Yeah.
Increased.
Yeah.
Darkroom church. And we invited him out to join us in the middle of
nowhere.
The dark.
We're on location. This is our spooky podcast tonight. So today, not when we air this, but this day where we're here is my birthday. And I requested that we came up to the location of where Travis Walton was abducted in 1975. So we're up here outside of Snowflake / Heber. Yeah. And we're out here kind of in the middle of nowhere, to say the least. So we came out today. We drove up. Dave came with us. He volunteered to come on out and do the spooky podcast out in the middle of the woods. So we came out. We were going to be on the actual site, but unfortunately there was a very, very large bunch of bees that were right above our campsite.
Giant beehive.
Yeah, we didn't notice it until we turned on a fan for a inflatable mattress, and then they started buzzing around pretty angrily. So we left. But we're not too far from the location. So now we're in this very large clearing. It's incredibly dark, but we have some Christmas lights out here. We got our headlamps on. We can definitely see the stars for sure.
Yeah.
It's a little cold. I think it's supposed to get down in the 50s. So if you hear a little shuffling, that's because we got some blankets and stuff. So we're just trying to keep ourselves warm as we can.
Yep.
But yeah, so on location with the spooky
Spooky podcast. Yeah.
And if we might get, sucked up by aliens, we don't know. We're not sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the night is not over, so it's hard to tell. We're keeping our eye out. But we're out here. We're doing some night photography as well. Dave, you brought your camera. What cameras did you bring tonight?
The principal shooting I'm doing is the RB67. And then I used a Holga when we made camp and just kind of shot some textures for another project I'm working on with a friend who she lives in Boston, and we've been doing this thing. It's kind of like that band, the Postal Service. We mail each other rolls of film, and so like she'll shoot a roll, send it to me, and I'll shoot on top of it and develop it, and then vice versa. So, I did a textural roll for that project with Lisa. And then, all the night stuff, I'm using the RB67 and some HP5. So we'll see what happens.
Very nice. How did your project start with your friend? Like, how did you guys get started with that?
It was very just kind of random. We met via the Instagram, and we liked each other's work. We were in a lot of contact with each other, just in regards to styles and etc. And she's the one that proposed this kind of like double blind experiment. And I've heard of this before, but never participated. And we're getting some good traction on it. It's definitely something that, like, I already have like a special feel with Holga cameras anyway, because there's a lot of fun in learning, the ISO triangle, all that fun stuff that goes with it, and then just crumpling it all up and throwing it in the waste paper basket and just shooting with the Holga.
Everything goes in the trash with the Holga.
Right. So
Can't go wrong with the Holga.
Yeah. So some of that project embraces that essence. I think the only thing we really thought from a technical standpoint was we're using 100 ISO film, so that way we can actually get some double exposures on there. But past that, it's we're embracing the camera's flaws to get the most out of it, which is fun.
Yeah. Are you like exposing everything like basically half
In a way, yeah. We've got another one that we want to do. I have high hopes for this one where we're going to juxtapose our winters, because she's going to have nor'easters and our winters are comical. So we have talked about using something like a red filter to soften up her snow, whatever that is. Things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
that should be interesting. It's going to be fun to see like where that goes with that project.
yeah, it's fun. It's good working with somebody else too. Between the two of us, I'm certainly the more loquacious one, and she's much better at the written word stuff. So like working on like the artist statements and like what we're trying to do with the project, she's exceedingly better than that, whereas I start to crawl into a shell when I start talking about more than just, I hit a shutter, yay!
Are you guys going to start an Instagram that shows all the photos, or are you just kind of putting those on your individual?
We've been doing a joint sharing, and then what's really been weird is, so they shoot each other, we're shooting over each other's film, and we're developing the role that gets sent to us. So it's almost a weird practice in divorcing of whose image is it. And we have to both go into it jointly knowing that it's a group image.
Yeah.
So right now we're just like co-tagging our Instagrams, and then there's potential for getting in a show at a hotel in Boston next year, and I'm super stoked because I've not really done that much public exhibiting, and so to get some traction, almost 2,000 miles away is pretty funny. Although I've actually joked with her before about like Arizona is just full of all these like special Mars plants. Like I take pictures of like my cactus that's literally in my front yard, and people back east have never seen one.
Yeah.
And so I think in some respects there's a little bit more of appreciation for how just absolutely bizarre our Arizona landscapes are. And it's appreciated over there in some respects. It's like, what are these things? And it's like, it's my front yard,
Where's
bro.
Where are the needles?
And then in the same aspect, I've never seen a lighthouse. So like when I see a picture of a lighthouse, I'm like, oh my God, that is just amazing. and I'm sure it's just like a very easily used trope back there. It's just like, it's like a free.
You said she's in Boston?
Yeah. So yeah, the New England lighthouse shot.
Yeah. It's a classic. It's a classic. That's interesting. Yeah. It's so interesting that you guys can mishmash those things together. I've seen some of your images. It's coming out very, very cool project. What's her Instagram?
Her Instagram is expert in nothing, and then mine is dumpster_flower.
There we go. And we'll get those at the end too.
Cool.
So people can actually go on and see what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
But no, that's a very rad project. So what else are you up to, Dave? What can you tell us?
Lots of printing.
Yeah, you abandoned us. Dave abandoned us.
I did.
Peaced out.
No, I had a very clear goal after I took the because I found out about you guys with the photo walk from somebody named Carl from Flagstaff.
Oh, interesting.
Carl.
Yeah.
Carl. I don't know Carl. I might know you, Carl. I'm
right,
sorry.
Yeah, no,
I may know you.
I don't think we've met.
Remember your name.
No, and we haven't met in person. No. Maybe it is. That's the problem when you learn handle names. You don't know their actual.
I know. I feel so
names.
bad about that.
So, or maybe it's Connor.
Connor
From
It could be
from
Connell.
Yeah.
Greenwald.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and that's another person I've only met on Instagram.
Yeah.
And he didn't even show up to the photo walk. It's fine. But no, I had been looking for something like that because I'd been back into film, and I felt like printing is the last frontier. Like that's the, this is the final step, and while being able to shoot on film and develop at home and scan in via DSLR is really great, and being able to post on Instagram is fabulous. There's something about getting a negative in the holder and getting that guy in the enlarger that's just it's magic. It's really magic. And I think even I've even been starting to delete old DSLR scans from my Instagram in favor of scans from paper prints, because it's exactly what I want. It's really annoying to get exactly what I want sometimes. Like for anybody that's worked in, coffee, you have to dial in the espresso maker. So there's that pinpoint process of, I do a lot of split filter now of, getting my whites with the 0, and then punching it in the face with the black with the 5, and fine tuning that process is, it's part of the process. I didn't embrace that when I was in my late teens, early 20s, because I was impatient.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, I found myself in my 40s being able to embrace the process more, whereas back then that was how you saw a photo.
Yeah.
Like that was it.
Yep, exactly. There was no screens. There was no computer. Yeah, you had the printed out version. Yeah, it is completely different though than seeing the scans. I think unfortunately a lot of folks that are introduced to film nowadays don't, unfortunately, kind of, they miss that really essential part of the process that looks so amazing. Yeah. It's such a shame. It's like, it's hard to explain to somebody how it looks different until you see it.
Right.
And then you're like, oh yeah, this looks very much different than it does just a scan.
There's a luminosity,
yes,
I guess, from a darkroom print. Yes. And I don't, I'm not really a big fiber guy, but just it's
there's something very special about being able to turn something. I mean, it's silver. You're like turning it into silver.
Right.
It's very, very cool. Well, very cool. So it sounds like you grew up in Arizona. Is that right? Is that
born
or no?
Born and raised.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I grew up in Chandler. Went to Chandler High, class of '97. Go Wolves! And then kicked around MCC for about a year and a half until I'm sure a lot of people go through this at that age of that's the only thing they've done forever is be in school.
Yeah.
And I was just very tired of doing that. So I left.
Yeah.
I kicked around, did a bunch of other stuff for a long time. Found a fairly bizarre job of I make belts for a living, which is bizarre in and of itself. And then oddly enough, where I was able to develop a lot more of my darkroom discipline was not only this job that I have at a foundry, but I can brag a little bit. I'm a pretty good welder.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of patience that has to happen. And that's really where it's set in about the final product is the culmination of all the prep work, getting everything right and getting 85% of all the stuff done correctly before you even get into a dark room.
Yeah.
Whereas, and it's tough. And I like we were talking about, like, developing for me in the late 90s, like early 2000s, you don't even know if you really even have a good image when you put the film in the tank to develop it. So you've got this triad of learning composition, learning the chemistry of developing your own film, and then printing. And it's tough. Yeah, I can see why it's a really hard medium to get your feet to get started in some respects. But now I felt like what was really nice lately with is you can kind of learn all your composition skills in digital, really kind of just fine tune what makes up an image, rules of thirds, triangles, all that fun stuff, and then do it again for real. You know?
For realsies.
Yeah, no, and I totally do not want to crap on digital photography in any way, shape, or form. It's just, you know, it's got a really cool place. Like I have a friend, Danielle Cortez. She does a lot of great sports photography. She does the whole, you know, mirrorless Sony stuff like that. She definitely has a narrative, so don't want to shit on any of that in any way, shape, or form. But just like as far as the, this got brought up in your other episode. The one thing that digital will never have is pre-visualization, and the fine tuning of looking in through an analog camera and knowing what it's going to look like before you hit the shutter.
Yeah.
Just, that's the jam. You know, that is, yeah, that's the money. You know, that's that little endorphin rush of like, oh yeah, I got this. Yeah, I'm doing this. You know, so.
Yeah, you got to work for it too.
Yeah.
It makes it that much more rewarding. It's that risk reward stuff.
That feeling is definitely rewarding when you know that shot is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's just a matter of not messing it up.
Yeah, it's like, okay, now I got to develop it properly. I got to print it properly. At least you get a few chances with the printing. Like you can actually tone that in. The developing gets a little scary sometimes.
Yep. We should go back to the Travis Walton thing.
Oh yeah?
We just finished watching the movie.
That's true. We were literally just watching the movie here in the woods, like, you know.
Fire in the Sky.
I think have you seen this movie before?
I have not seen this movie before.
What did you think of the movie?
Pretty crazy.
Are you more or less scared being in the woods after seeing that movie?
Let the probing begin.
You're encouraged by it. If anyone hasn't seen the movie, it's pretty good. It's not 100% accurate to Travis's story, but you know the basics are there of like when he was abducted was like November 1975 and for 5 days, which basically he didn't know how long he was gone, but it was 5 days, and then they dropped him back off in Heber at the phone booth, which he called his family to like be like, what the hell, and we're gonna go there tomorrow. Check out the phone booth because phone booth's still there, so that's pretty cool.
If we don't get abducted.
If we don't get abducted, it's
otherwise it'll be 5 days and then we'll be there.
Then we'll be there. We'll ask them to drop us off there, or the lab, just so we don't have to like drive back down.
It's going to be an expensive Uber.
Yeah,
I know, it's going to be really expensive.
That's the Uber drop off point.
Well, you pay the price like with the probing, like that's how you pay for the trip, and then they drop you off wherever you want. It doesn't matter. And then Dave, have you seen the movie before?
So I had actually only seen the last 15 minutes.
Okay, which are pretty juicy, honestly, in that movie.
Right. So I didn't know about the whole setup to it, and so basically, I'd only seen about 10 to 15 minutes of being wrapped in American cheese and getting probed.
I like that. American
Somebody
cheese.
thought that up and was like, this would be great. This would be great.
That was terrifying, actually. I think of like the whole thing, like that cheese scene actually was pretty terrifying.
Yeah. There's
spoiler alert.
There was some gooey stuff too.
Oof,
there was a lot of gooiness in this movie.
Yeah.
More than you would expect. But there was a lot of gooey scenes. But that's a fun movie. I think when I saw that movie in the 90s, I was like, oh man, that spot. I'd like to go see that place.
I can't remember the name of the director. I don't know who directed the movie.
Oh, I missed that.
But the like group, the gooey probing, punching aliens and on accident spacesuits thing. It definitely seemed very like late 90s, like Mark Romantic, like whole Nine Inch Nail video vibe.
It did. Yeah. You could put like
I dig
the
that.
soundtrack was a little like cheesy to this movie.
Literally.
But I feel like if you, it really was there at the end. It
Mark
sounded like
Pellington.
a little, there you go.
Mark Pellington.
Like a little kid's like, keyboard, like playing the tones like at the end. But if you put like a different musical soundtrack to that movie, it would take on a whole different life. It really would. It would be even scarier than it was. I mean, it was like, it's suspenseful. And then at the end, you're like a little horrified. And then it's like,
Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
yeah, throw in some Trent Reznor in there.
There you go.
It'd be pretty good. But yeah, so I highly recommend anyone to come on out. Just be careful of the bees, but they may have moved by then. But it's actually pretty treacherous if you do decide to come out to this space. If you want to know where the coordinates are, we certainly can give those to you. It's pretty much a ride out here because you go off the main road there. What is that, 290? And then you pick up a road called 300, which is also Rim Road. And you go on that for 8 miles, and it's okay. It's like,
not bad.
it's not bad. But then to go down to the site, you have to take a half mile in, and that road's a little whack. So we have a 4-wheel drive, and we had some clearance. Thank goodness for the clearance. But a regular car, I don't know if I'd drive down in there. Yeah. But you could certainly walk in because it's only a half mile in there.
Yeah, if you want to see the spot.
Yeah, and you can go down there.
Halfway set up, and then we went to inflate the mattress, and the little fan triggered the bees.
It triggered the bees, and the bees. I'm like, what is that noise? And we're like, there's a lot of bees, guys. I don't know how many bees that was, but that was like a lot. That was a lot of bees.
That was the most bees I've ever seen in actual person.
Yeah, I've never seen that many either, so that was a little
and
disturbing.
Luckily they stayed up there.
Yeah, a couple buzzed down, but I was like, oh no, as soon as
it's
one
about
of those
to turn into that movie with Macaulay Culkin.
Oh God, Macaulay!
Oh,
no, that was horrifying. He needs his glasses.
Luckily, we got out of there.
Yeah, we decided to go. I was like, I'm not scared of aliens at all. Like coming and getting me. The bees freak me out.
Not the bees.
Way more than that. So
yep.
We'll see. I mean, I think we have a pretty good shot of getting abducted out here. If anywhere, this is definitely where I'd go to do it because this is dark.
Yeah.
This is very dark. We have some Christmas lights strung up here, and we have a pretty bright light here. So right now, but I think if we turned these lights off, it would be pitch black.
Yeah,
just about.
There's some moon action going on, but it's not even.
The moon's going to drop below the horizon here in a minute.
Yeah, I think it's going to do some good photos. We were trying to do night photography is a tricky thing.
It is, and it's. I think there's a catch-22 of it's hard to learn where we live because there's so much light pollution that it throws it off. And then, so I'm up here like it is pitch black. And I think they'll lead to better photos, but I have no real gauge. So I did like a 3-minute exposure, and now I'm doing like an hour. We'll find out what happens. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's what you just have to do. Film in like long times with light is such a, crapshoot, for a better lack of the word.
Yeah.
The reciprocity of it.
Reciprocity failure.
Which, people have tried to explain that to me, and I wish I understood it better. I mean, I understand it becomes less sensitive with time. Like, I fundamentally get it, but working out the math end of that is like a whole different thing. I find it's a little I'll wing it. We'll see. We'll do 3 minutes here, 2 minutes here, an hour here. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most people end up, winging it. I mean, it's more about trying something and then seeing what happens, because in order to calculate reciprocity properly, you have to take into a bunch of considerations. So
that's way too much math.
Yeah, it's
ain't nobody want to do math. They want to take pictures.
I know. Yeah. We're not mathematicians.
Nope. Yeah. Is this your first time shooting night photography?
I did a little bit in college, enough to get where I've done the whole like star streaks thing, but not enough patience to get like the circle.
Yeah.
Like I think that's another thing that kind of kills shooting at night is the like, man, you do have to do stuff the next day most of the time. You can't spend like your whole night,
the entire night
shooting.
Outside.
It is definitely like it's an interest, but I definitely wouldn't put it at anywhere near expertise level. So, but it's fun to try.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're out, you got to take a chance to do some night photography and see what you can get. I mean, you never know.
That is one that I can definitely I can say the phone technology, even on just like the pictures people can take at concerts now
Yeah.
on your phone is,
it's
you know
insane.
what, man, it's all right. You got me. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel kind of fortunate to be out here, honestly, because I mean, think of most of the country. It's like most people are sitting somewhere where it's a lot of light pollution. So it's kind of hard nowadays to actually find truly dark areas. And northern Arizona is just not all that populated.
No,
We're
it's
not near Flag right now. And Flag's kind of the biggest up north. And even there, they're a kind of a light safe city, but this is dark.
Yeah, I think the closest to in town in Phoenix, greater Phoenix area, would be to go out to Superstitions, but even then, you still got pollution.
Yeah.
You're still getting a whole glow in the
Yeah.
sky from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Where was it that we went? We went to Tanisa. Our friend Tanisa invited us out to go shoot over by Roosevelt Lake.
Yeah, we went out to Roosevelt Lake in the
I
middle
can
of the
see
night.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a hotel and set an alarm and then got up in the middle of the night, went out and then took photos and then came back and went back to sleep again.
I think I took maybe 3 or 4 photos. I was like freezing cold.
It was really cold. I mean, it's a little cold tonight, but that was like way colder as I recall. But
Yeah.
I don't think I got any good photos from that.
Same. Same.
I think it was too cold
Not
to
enough
even.
experience.
I was too cold to focus, and the experience thing too. I think once you just kind of get in the hang of it, it's like photography is kind of like that with everything. You try something, and at first you're like, "Oh man, this is a lot." You know, I know the first time I printed, I was like, "Okay, this is a lot. There's a lot of steps." And then when I started doing, I'm like, "Okay, this is kind of basic." But then filtering, I know I still can't filter for crap. I always forget like what filter does what and how to change things. So.
Yeah. I think the thing that helped me, and this is just stuff I did, so like when I do my contact sheets now, I do it with a 2 filter. And if I like what it looks like on the contact, I'm just gonna use that now. But yeah, even like something like split. That's another thing I didn't have when I was in my early 20s and late teens was money.
Yeah.
Like, somebody trying to explain even the some of these techniques. I had just enough money I kept buying the 25 pack of like Ilford Glossy that came with the 2 rolls of HP5. And like, I'm going through 5 sheets of paper to make test strips to make 1 print. And so like, I remember there was one assignment that broke me. The final was you had to make 12 prints. I'm like,
Oh, that's a lot.
yeah.
That is a lot. Someone that doesn't print may think, oh, 12, that isn't bad. But no, it
But
takes
there's
a while
so
to get to
much.
one good print.
Yeah. And that was one of the nice things about being able to just go to the lab for that year was the lab fee was so cheap. If I can, bolster that it was cheaper to just go twice a month than take another community college class.
Yeah.
And just go to Freestyle or Tempe Camera. And it was the first time I got to buy a box of 100 sheets of paper.
Make it worthwhile.
And not sweat it. Of just like, man, if you got to make a print, you're down to 3 sheets of paper. Like,
It's just a
and
nightmare.
it's just like, man, I got to go to the store and get. Like,
Yeah, it's too much pressure.
yeah. So yeah, even the luxury of just buying a box of 100 and just being able to learn by doing. I'm definitely much more of a experiential learner and just getting there and getting hands on and doing it.
Yeah, so you set up a darkroom in your house now. So
I did.
after you left us.
Yeah, I did. Luckily, so this is another thing I found that's funny with film is when people find out that you still shoot it, they will just give you things. So I did have to buy. I did. Right.
We know this.
Right. So I did have to buy a timer. I bought a digital timer and like some of the trays and the tongs, and I had to buy my own chems, but a enlarger fell in my lap. I think at first I was just crushed with this, like, oh no, I have to now make prints of everything. But now that I've settled in, it's a little bit more of like, no, I can make prints of whatever I want, whenever I want. And it's actually because the lab time is about 3.5, 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like the other day I printed for an hour.
Yeah.
Like I went in, I made 2 copies of one print, dialed in, did all that stuff. I was about like an hour, 10 minutes. And like, cool. I'm in my 40s now. My joint hurts and I'm tired. I'm tired of standing, and I'm just gonna, calling it good tonight. Yeah.
Lab type's hard because you're like, you want to take advantage of the time that you have available to you. So I know that's what's limiting with a lot of the schools that still have the programs. It sounds like they don't have open hours, so they have to kind of squeeze in what they can when the class is happening, and I that seems very limiting. It's hard to be artistic on a schedule.
Yeah. No, totally get that. Yeah, that was another thing. And I'm sure some of it's changed, but my community college experience back then I didn't own any of my developing tanks or anything like that too. So not only was I not good, but I was spending gas money to not be good. You're spending money on film and everything else, and then there's the lab fees with the tuition, on top of that, and it's just like, and then gas isn't free.
No,
so,
that all adds up for sure.
Yeah, having the space to have your own community, or not community darkroom, have your own darkroom, is
we have both technically.
Yeah, is a really important, I think, to continue and be able to grow your art, and especially when you're in a space that they're in a place where there isn't a community darkroom or there are limitations. So, I know I started out with a little enlarger in my bathroom and was doing the best that I could with what I had, and had plans to do all this, special trays and, fixing up the enlarger and trying to get a better one. And then the darkroom happened. The community darkroom happened.
The darkroom happened. But hopefully helping other people
and
get their stuff.
That's the other fun thing I found now that I'm in the, I have a darkroom at home club. I'll get DMs from other people that are just starting out, and like there was a guy, we really like each other's work. We've obviously both seen some Weston and Cunningham, but like he was asking me simple questions like, how do you prevent the light leak from the door coming in? I'm like, well, do you have any backing paper? Take the backing paper from your 120 film. I know we all have some because we're us. And just I showed him how I literally just Scotch tape backing paper on my door.
Yeah, backing paper's pretty light safe too. So
right, and to be able to answer like what could be a relatively complex question, there's like you can Google any photo question and be sent to somewhere on a message board where somebody answered it, and then probably 2/3 of any message board are like neckbeards fighting with each other about the answer of just like, well, you could probably do that, and it's just I feel like people who are doing it are asking other people who are doing it, and we can just spread all these knowledges. But like there's little things I didn't know until I was taking all the lab time of like, I never printed medium format when I was at Mesa Community College, so I didn't know I needed to go up a lens. Just little things
it's
like
it's little stuff that you wouldn't know otherwise. Why would you?
I wouldn't have known to, ask the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I
You
just
don't
don't
know.
know.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know. So that's where all that experience comes in and being able to hands-on do it. And then it's also nice when you find community that's like, we've been very fortunate where most of the people that come through our lab are, you know, just really friendly people that want to share the knowledge and don't want to, like, you know, there's a weird amount of gatekeeping that sometimes happens in photography.
There is, and it's unfortunate. I don't
It doesn't make a lot of
like
sense.
any gatekeeping in any arts.
Yeah.
But especially, I feel like photography might be one of the most democratic art mediums out there. When you go to Tempe Camera or wherever you buy your stuff, you don't have to bring a permission slip.
Yeah.
You can buy a camera and just start shooting.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. There's no rules either. Like, I think a lot of people get stuck in like, well, you know, I want it to look like this and this. No, just shoot. Find your way. Your way might not be great, but that's okay too. Like, you may have fun in just the process of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, people get a little
There's all
serious.
different types of photographers, and in my experience, it's finding out what path they want to go down, and what direction, and how do they learn. You know, for me, I'm a visual learner, and I want to experience it, handle it, you know, take it apart, try and understand it. Trying to read a manual is not my thing. I'll take a peek at the pictures that are in the manual and be like, yeah, it looks about right.
I don't need that.
But you know, everybody has their own way of learning and experiencing things. So whenever I interact with a fellow photographer or aspiring photographer, for me, it's always just to encourage them to find whatever their little niche is and run with it. And you don't need a fancy camera, or, you know, maybe you're a gearhead, so you know, cameras are your thing, and, you know, getting this really nice camera is what your goal is. So
try everything.
Everybody has their own spot with photography. Some people want to do 35 millimeters, some people want to do medium 4x5. So it's there's a vast
it's a big world.
Yeah.
There's a lot. You could take a lifetime and not understand everything with film. So anyone that's intimidated by film, don't worry, because there's nobody out there that understands every piece of it.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of that stuff too is obsolete now.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that's because of the processes have been changed. So we have film photography, which still exists because people still shoot film, and there's a need and a demand. So there's a supply for that. But there's other things that are always interesting to learn about, which are, you know, maybe print processes like Cibachrome is become obsolete because the chemistry is not manufactured anymore. And we have other, equipment. There's one piece of equipment which I had to donate, which was a slide duplicator. And it had this little rig where you set up a camera on one end, you put your slide in, and then it had a little flash on the very end. And really cool piece of equipment, but I had no space in the lab for it.
No.
So
we have a very small lab, so we have space for a lot of things.
There's all sorts of cool things like that exist, which kind of a bummer, but
I remember fun. It's one of those things, like I didn't buy it at the time, but like there used to be like a slide duplicator for Polaroids.
Mm.
So you'd have your slide, and then you could make a Polaroid duplicate of it. And when they stopped making
That's fun.
the film for, X amount of years, that stuff just started showing up at like Goodwills and thrift stores, and because nobody knew what to do. It's like, well, what do you do with nobody shoots color slide film, and nobody makes Polaroid film. And,
it becomes like this obsolete thing.
Yeah, and other than, maybe there's some really rad shelf queens out there, but what do you do with it?
Yeah. Do you shoot a lot of color because you like to print so much?
Not as much anymore. I have some color film in the fridge because I'm I'm a film hoarder now. Yeah.
You got the drawer?
Yeah, I've got the drawer. And like something that's developed, even no pun intended, the last year or so something that's like really nice with having a camera with interchangeable backs. So my current thing I've been doing a lot of is having like a 100 speed black and white, 400 speed black and white, and then a roll of 200 color. And sometimes I'll look in the viewfinder and the color is just an absolute punch in the face, and I need to get a color version of that. And that's translated into, I have 2 Canon EOS 650 cameras. And I went on a photo walk with the photo cruise people, about 2-3 months ago. And I found myself replicating that process of, I had one camera with black and white film and I had one camera with color film, and I brought 150 millimeter lens and popped between the two of them. And that's easy to do now because you can get those cameras for $40 on eBay. This was stuff I never thought about, 25 years ago, because buying one camera was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. So a lot of your photos are kind of nature for the most part. You seem to be, you're not much of a street guy.
That's another thing I fluctuate on. That's one that Instagram really helped on. I shunned desert stuff when I was in my teens, probably because it was, I was just much more antisocial or something. I don't know. But like being on Instagram now and seeing, you can literally see a world based of photographers, and there's certain photographers that they might just take a picture of their alley and they don't think anything's special of it, and it'll get like a zillion likes because it'll have a sign that's written in, has like Chinese kanji on it or something, and it'll be like, oh, that's just the raddest sign, and it probably says like laundry. So I want to say the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, I've definitely embraced my surroundings a lot more and just gotten into like, I don't really do desert landscapes. That's one of those weird things about when we all find our we find our niche, and I'm like, I still don't shoot landscapes well. It's been, but I have always enjoyed really just close up textures. I really prefer, even if somebody doesn't even know what the object is, like if it's really just lines and shadows and gradation, and if you can pull back and like, oh, that's a cactus pillow, like, oh, cool. So I just love texture so much. And that's another thing that I think that's another reason for me for coming back to film and embracing it, is that the texture gradients are just so much truer to me. And that the on film, like even like a fairly run of the mill emulsion like Kodak Gold 200, like, man, you see a sunset on that now in comparison to like my phone, it's just like, like no, it's just, it's really great. And I hold on to some color film too, because it invokes nostalgia now, and you'll see that with just like, even as something as benign as like the Digicam explosion. I said that with disgust for a reason.
So I'm assuming you do not have a 3 megapixel camera at home.
No, but I understand where they're coming from, because there is a group of people that was what all of their birthday parties looked like for 5 years.
Yeah, that's true.
That was every high school field trip, or trip to Disneyland was off of something that fit in your pocket and was 4 megapixels. And you know what, more power to whatever whatever you want to shoot, if that's the aesthetic you're going for. So then my wheelhouse is really like really gritty 800 speed film with like, that was all my childhood. That's all.
Yeah.
That's how I remember photography being, was, going to Walgreens or Walmart and getting a pack of, a three or four pack of 400 ISO, because you were going to be shooting indoors, and you need to get that blowing out the birthday cake shot. There's certain things I just remember this, and it might blow, like, I get too focused on the past sometimes, but you used to be able to buy color film at 99 only. and
Man, was it a 27 roll?
It was 20.
exposure.
Yeah. No, it was a full 24-hour. It was this off-brand called Marquee.
Oh wow.
But I have found, like 15 years later, those negatives have not held up.
The stock wasn't great.
Yeah. So even though I had them in the
$1.
the PVC slide, the sleeves and everything, I have them right in the portfolio with all the other color stuff, and that stuff didn't hold up, but whatever.
$1.
It was $1. Yeah.
Can't meet. Is there even dollar stores now? I feel like I haven't been to one in a very long time, but
They're-
do they still
they're-
actually exist as dollar stores?
It's now
an
like
actual
Five
dollar-
Below.
No.
Yeah, I feel like there's Five Below and stuff, and like 99-cent and up, but straight up like everything $1 in the stores.
Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
And then, I even saw those. They had film at Five Below, and it was 12 exposures of like Fomapan 200,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted like $5. I'm like, ooh, man, that's not happening. That's not happening.
Whose
Yeah.
idea was this?
Yeah, I saw some reviews of that online. It was not pretty.
No. And then the camera they were selling for $5 didn't even have that. That's another great thing about. Maybe I didn't talk about this earlier, but like when we talk about gatekeeping and etc., like you can find anything you want now on YouTube, and that was not a luxury that I had when I was in
That's
high
true.
school or college. Of like I had to go through people to find this stuff out, and now people are incentivized to share knowledge because they're going to get a kickback from
Yeah.
a YouTube kickback. If anything, there's too many damn YouTube channels.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
everybody needs to monetize their hobbies, unfortunately, nowadays.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I think it's worrisome for creative stuff, because you get like such a weird, like you got to dig a little further to find the creative people, I think, versus the people that are just doing it for a paycheck or clout, or like, hey, I'm trendy. Like,
Right.
makes it a little harder. You got to dig a little deeper to find those people. And I suspect that the people that are truly doing some amazing stuff probably have no online presence whatsoever. Like, where we never see it, which is kind of a shame. But they're just happy doing their thing.
Yeah.
They need to come out of the woodwork, though, some of them.
Yeah. There's still a lot of interesting things on YouTube, though.
Oh, yeah,
Definitely
gosh.
a great resource.
YouTube is crazy. Yeah, I mean, the whole internet in general, like just with how photography has been able to take that, next level, as far as photography and what it looked like. And I think, it wasn't for the internet, I don't think we'd have phones that have the capabilities like they do. I mean, that's obviously, triggered that to get even better, which is sort of nice to have that resource of like, I just remember back in my youth where there was so many times to be like, man, that'd be a great picture, but I didn't have a camera handy to me. Like,
That's something that's also really nice, is that the two can coexist. It's not
Yeah,
like they're in
absolutely.
like a head-to-head battle for supremacy. I love having a camera with me at all times. Like, the other day at work, there was a rad grasshopper. I got a photo of the rad grasshopper, and it wasn't film or anything, but it's like, what, I have that. Yay.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? So you have your hands, it sounds like a little bit, you're a very art guy, because you make bells for your day job. You're doing photography. What other stuff do you kind of dabble in or have dabbled in?
For a long time, probably my primary focus in the arts community for an extended period of time was, I used to do a lot of spoken word, primarily poetry slam stuff. Yeah, I had a history in that. You know, as I mentioned before, my vocabulary word of the day, loquacious. And there's a lot of similarities between like what I feel is going on with photography now and like what was going on with poetry slam back in the 90s of the going back to this again of the not asking for permission.
Yeah.
Like you can find people doing what they want to do at their skill level and still have a community. Like I felt like when, you know, when I was in school or in college, like once you, I really thought I had to have like an MFA to be seen or something of just that extreme of a, well, you know, once I get out of college, nobody's going to see anything unless I do, you know, whatever. And that's something that I really love about it. The format sucks sometimes, but you know, like Instagram changed a lot of things.
Yeah.
I do feel like I do have to fight for, you know, like reels are really popular and I'm not gonna get more views or comments than, you know, adorable beagle videos.
You can't win against them. The dog videos, cat videos.
I'm not gonna win, but you know, to be able to distribute and interact with other photographers, like birding photography, that whole thing that's a whole different
very
thing.
Specific.
That's a very niche thing. Like I like to just take pictures of birds. Apparently there's rules about taking pictures of birds where it's like, well, you have to get them in full frame and then you have to do a thing and then you have to identify the markings and you have to mark your location. I'm like, dude, man, birds are bad. Just take pictures of birds, man. Get out of my ass.
They're not even real.
Yeah.
Birds aren't real.
Yeah, birds are. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Instagram's nice in the fact that you can see people from, I like, you know, seeing all over the world. Like, what are people doing? What are people taking pictures of? You were talking about people taking like pictures in the alley and like, it's just a plain old alley to them. And that's kind of the fascinating thing because, you know, it's like goes back to what makes a photo interesting? Mm-hmm. What is that? You know, and it's like, I think if you find something personally interesting, you're going to find other people that find it interesting as well. I mean, an interesting photo is going to be an interesting photo, but it's always nice to see like that different perspective that you don't normally get to see. It's always nice to have something fresh. Yeah. So it's like, even if you can't travel and go to these places, you have these photographers that are able to share those experiences with you and share those things. I love those mundane things though, like an alley, because people traditionally like, oh, you know, that's just an alley. Why would I take a photo of it? But those end up being kind of the best photos sometimes, this everyday life stuff. Yeah. So when I see those everyday life, just like normal people going about their business, but, you know, somewhere I've never been or probably will never be. Yeah. You know, it's kind of fascinating to be able to see that stuff.
And there's certain things I picked up on too of like why I picked up a camera the last 3 or 4 years. I've found photos now of things that I thought were like, why did I take a photo of that? They don't exist.
Yeah.
Like I used to live off this apartment on Orange and Terrace near ASU. It does not exist anymore. There's a light rail that bulldozed that thing down.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. You see that. I noticed that in downtown Phoenix. I was like, oh wow, like they're building like a giant building out in front of like what's that? The really pretty building that's always referenced. It just escaped my brain. ASU has some of the in it. There's a big parking lot. It was an empty parking lot, and there's a really pretty building there. And I feel like an idiot. I don't remember the name of the building, but anyway, they're putting this big building up, and I was thinking, man, that went for years and years, where you have this beautiful view from this angle, and that's now not a thing.
Now
it's no longer a thing. So you could take a picture that's
Public Market.
Across the street from Public Market. What's the name of the building? The
Westward Ho.
Westward Ho, thank you.
Yep, right.
Yes. So the Westward Ho, on that one angle from that one street, you used to have this different view of it, and they had a big parking lot there. that's not there anymore. They're building a big thing. So it's like, you know, it's interesting where you think, oh man, you know, especially Phoenix, like Western Co has had so many photos of that building, but then you think, oh, well, you can't take that photo anymore. It's no longer,
Or like adjacent to it, I had a Polaroid photo that made one of my zines of the old Circles Records and Tapes building.
Where was that at?
That was across the street from the public market. It was even designated historical. The storefront was designated historical, but they could gut it and put something behind it, and then they still destroyed it. You know, that they used, you know, quotation fingers accidents, you know, and yeah, so we're seeing things that don't exist anymore go, you know, things that you can't take a photo of that anymore. And especially a city like Phoenix of, you know, there's not a plot of land that a developer here doesn't have their fucking eye on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Phoenix has changed a lot. Phoenix is one of those cities where it's changing so rapidly as well. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Time makes like pictures interesting. I mean, if you look back at like pictures and you see them like, oh, look at that from the 20s, and you're just looking at like a car and a building and just some people. And nowadays you think, do I want to take a picture of a car and some people and just the road over here? Like, but you realize like, oh, time
looks,
it's
it makes you think, because there's not really pictures out there that look like that.
Yeah, and it's important to document kind of some of that stuff, because it's like, you know, that's going to be the interesting stuff in the future. People are going to want to see Phoenix, like how it looked. You know, it seems like you're like, oh, 2023, everything looks so kind of beige and ugly. But in reality, what's it going to look like in 50 years? You know, it's going to look completely different. Yeah, Phoenix is one of those cities that's just sort of, I mean, I think every city, you go to every city and it's sort of like, you know, always changing constantly.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of places that get stuck in time. I think these woods are probably a little stuck in time. Not much has changed out here, I don't think. Maybe a couple fires here and there, but
but it does remind me, and one of the bigger things I learned from taking like a traditional photo class. I remember my photo 101 teacher, Bob Galloway. If you're listening, it's a small world. I doubt you are. I remember, and maybe he got it from somebody else, but I remember he was talking to us, and he said, you know, it's not just an image; it's a recording of shadow and light and time.
Yeah,
and just
that's a good way to put it.
The gravity of a single moment.
Time is fleeting.
Yeah.
Very fleeting. Yeah, these moments are gone in an instant. Yeah, and catch them. Oh, goodness. So, Dave, what do you want to do that you haven't done with photography? What are the bigger stuff that you've looked at and thought, man, I'd love to do that someday?
I guess just sell out.
It's the last thing left.
That is the last thing left.
If anyone would like to sponsor Dave.
Well, like I've never been interested in like sports or action photography. Not crapping on it. Just never been my thing. I haven't really done a terrible amount of studio work, and I feel like I'm getting into that a little bit more. It's almost a necessity in Phoenix because of the 4 months of the year you want to shoot and can't.
It's true.
So you start bringing some of that indoors. And I'm just waiting for a gallery owner to exploit my naivete. But no, it's just being seen by more people and not out of I need to be liked. I made a thing and I hope you see it. I feel that's the way I look at other people's photos of you made a thing, I want to see it. It's like the break even quick scheme of zines. People make zines because it's mostly like art trading cards more than it is about making any money. Just I made a thing, I want you to see it.
Yep. Yeah. There's a weird fine line of like being seen and feeling like you're pushing yourself a little too much on people, or being like, it's hard for, I think, a lot of personality, especially artistic folks. I think a lot of artistic people, I think, sway a little bit more, and not all, but I think a little more introverted, a little less look at me. Like, you're not that personality. I don't think I've met a lot of super artistic people that are necessarily type A's,
Right.
We're a lot of kind of introverted type B, a little autistic, a lot of us,
For sure. Yeah.
there's a lot of that out there. And I
There's
think it's hard for those folks to be like, hey, look at my stuff, and not feel really awkward about it, because you don't want to put yourself out there, because you feel like it's kind of wrong to put yourself out there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I completely identify with that 100% of the not trying to push things on people, because it's like trying to force them to look at your stuff, or I don't know. Yeah.
It's hard to get out of that pattern.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm just putting it out there in the world. Just take a look at it for me. Don't judge me for it.
Yeah.
Right.
That whole, I mean, it's hard. You put in a lot of work. You want to be seen, or some, for the most part, most people do. I mean, that's the driving factor, but it's, challenging when so many different people are shouting, look at my stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And unfortunately, sometimes the people that shout the loudest get the attention, and it's not necessarily the best work.
Yeah.
And that's when you start, I think that's also discouraging to folks that truly do have some stuff that they should be showing. They shouldn't be discouraged by that, because I know it probably seems like, well, look at that, like they're getting all the attention, but it's just because they're shouting the loudest. It's not necessarily because their work's the best.
Yeah. Well, Dave keeps doing his thing and keeps making art, and that's what makes him happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what matters. That's what matters to Dave. That's what matters the most.
Absolutely. Well, that's what I think it is. You do what makes you happy. You put it out there, and other people like it. Thumbs up.
Well, you got a show 2,000 miles away.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. Are you going to go out?
I am. I'm going to try. I've done some budgeting, and conceptually, I love the idea of driving out there and documenting the process and making a zine out of the book. I'm gonna spend $300 and fly out there.
It's a long drive.
That is an insanely long drive, and there's a really fantastic zine or a book about driving cross country to be a part of your first gallery show, but I don't have that money nor that time.
It's hard, because it's like if to do it, I feel like if you want to do it, quote unquote properly, you feel like you have to do it, take some time to do it, not just do the drive out,
No, I'm debating even oh my God, what am I gonna wear? Do I totally just go cheese and wear I own a pair of cowboy boots. I mean, what do I do?
There you go. Embrace the Arizona part of it. You'll be like a novelty in Boston.
Yeah. I heard they love their accent being made fun of. It's going to be great. No, and I'm still hoping that show falls through. I'm trying not to use pessimistic language of just well, I'm still hoping, and this is the thing. And it's and trying to use more of the forward thinking, no, God damn it, we got a show. God damn it, it's gonna happen. So.
No, I'm sure it'll happen, and that'll be great. I mean, if you really want your stuff, you can just slap yourself up in a museum and just put your own work up real quick, covert,
boom.
Yeah.
I've often thought about that. Just go to the museum, just pop a little piece up. That's mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we still haven't gotten any aliens yet.
No, not yet.
Well, yeah.
We're still here. I know. We should all have our cameras ready. We were just talking about earlier, it'd be interesting if we got sucked up, and then being that we all three of us take photos, then we'd get terrible photos from it. There's a lot of expectation there. I feel like if we did actually get some sort of experience with an alien, we'd have to take some good photos.
True.
But then again, it is night, and we're not great at night photography.
Yeah. You need a lot of light in order to get an image of an alien.
Unless they glow, they might glow.
I bring you love.
Exactly. They create their own light.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I think we should do more in the woods podcast. I like it.
Yeah.
It's intense. It's like, do I get abducted? Is bear coming out here? What's happening? I don't know.
There was a bear attack around here.
There was, and it
Like-
wasn't all that long ago.
No.
Yes. Yeah. Up in
So
Flag,
neat.
right? Which is very unfortunate. You don't hear about them too often, so I don't think we have too much to. Oh, I just saw a shooting star.
Oh.
I did. Nice. But yeah, you don't hear about bear attacks too much, so I don't think we have. I think that bear just had some problems.
Yeah.
But we have bear spray, so just in case. I did buy the bear spray after hearing this story.
Oh, for sure.
I was like, as much as I think it won't happen, I did actually go out and buy bear spray after hearing that.
Spray yourself with it.
I know I don't
Bears
actually.
don't like spicy things.
Yeah, I don't actually know how to use the bear spray, but you know, if the worst comes to worst, we can throw the bear spray at the bear's head. So
Yeah,
you know that might actually work. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
I think I'm good, man. I think I've said everything I could say about.
we got everything
anything.
out of Dave.
Yeah.
All about Dave. And
Yeah.
it becomes the podcast becomes weird because you're talking all about yourself.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, and like when we were talking about the self-promotion angle of like, man, do I really want to talk about myself for like an hour and a half? You know, but you know, I'm like, yeah, I do.
We give you permission when you bring you on the podcast. We're like,
Cool,
no,
when you're on the
we're like, we want you to talk about yourself. Like you get full permission to do it, which is nice. You don't get that too much in life where someone's like, you know,
Yep.
that's not your therapist or your mom.
Yeah,
Like, go ahead.
Spill the beans.
Spill the beans. Tell us all about it.
yeah, or like people in your life that don't get your photo addiction, and so like, you know, like I'll have a lens that'll come in off of eBay or something like that, or MPB or whatever, and you know, basically, you know, my wife Sue has just gotten like, oh, it's a lens, huh? Does it do something different? It does a thing with the other thing that you own. Yeah, like,
Just don't get it.
that's yeah.
You don't understand, man.
Yeah, you don't understand. It's got a wide opening of 1.4. It's amazing. The other one was 1.8, and it sucks now. Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard to explain to people if they don't share the whatever that is that's your passion that you're totally into. And it's hard to kind of convince people. We get into trouble with that because we're both like,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
enablers. So
Don't you have 10 other lenses? Yeah, but they don't do what this lens does.
cool.
Right.
Don't they all do the same thing? Yeah, but differently.
Yeah.
But this one's cool. Don't you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dave.
Yeah. It was
Appreciate
fun.
you
Yeah, it was a
being on the
trip.
pod. And yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll
Absolutely.
just hang out here and
Just
wait
think.
for aliens.
I
to
know.
come.
Just think it, guys. If we come up disappeared, you know what happened. You're like on the. Oh, actually,
Whoa.
I just realized if we disappear.
Whoa.
Might be disappearing. You're not going to hear this podcast if we disappear.
Oh, you're 5 days.
We're not going to be able to post it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're not going to know. Although I hear
Yeah.
something. What is that?
I think it looks like a fire.
Uh-oh.
A fire in the
Is
sky.
that a glow?
I don't know. Should you get out and look?
I don't, Dave, you should go check it out. You got your
Um,
camera. I
yeah,
think you should check it out.
I do it. Yeah. Okay. I'll be back.
All right. Well, good luck. Oh, he's heading over there. I don't know. Shit, Dave. Oh my God.